The Nightmare of Moonshadow Park. They say Moonshadow Park has been closed for over a decade, ever since a fire on the open-air stage killed dozens of spectators. The city sealed off the 10-hectare area with rusty iron fences and warning signs, but every night thrill-seekers still sneaked in. Most came out with nothing but scratches and whispered vows never to return. A few vanished, their names fading from memory like a train that no longer stops. That weekend night, 4 final-year university students, Lam, me, Dung, and Koi, set out to film a bravery challenge vlog before graduation. Lam was a horror movie fan. I loved crime fiction. Dung was a tech nerd with a drone, and Koi was just curious. They brought flashlights, infrared cameras, backup batteries, energy drinks, and candy bars. It was mid-October. The wind was sharp. The crescent moon floated behind a veil of clouds, casting a pale, candle-like glow. The main gate was chained shut, but a torn section near the irrigation canal allowed them to squeeze through. Dung pulled the fence open. Mai slipped in first, then Koi. Lam followed, crawling with the camera bag, pulling the mesh back into place. Inside, tall weeds choked the cracked stone paths. Statues of children playing on carousels stood chipped and rusted, their broken eyes appearing to weep under the mist. Far off, the white frame of a Ferris wheel loomed crooked, cabins swaying eerily in the wind. Mai raised her phone, filming with a nervous smile. We're standing inside the legendary Moonshadow Park. They say if you wait until midnight, you'll hear a violin playing by itself. It's only 9:45. We'll look around and wait for the ghost concert. Koi laughed and nudged Dung. If we catch any music on camera, I'm posting it on TikTok. Instant million views. They followed the path toward the burned stage, the site of the deadly fire. The cracked concrete seats were scattered with old ashes. Charred light poles still stood like blackened bones. Lam turned on the infrared camera. Through the ghostly green filter, the burnt spots looked like bloodstains on the wood. Dung launched his drone. It buzzed skyward and hovered, scanning the circular stage, then drifting toward the drained Swan Lake. I squinted at the monitor. Wait, on the red-tiled path, someone's standing there. Koi leaned in. The drone's camera showed a tall figure in a dark coat, arms limp, head slightly tilted. Lum zoomed in, but the face was blurred as if made of fog. Suddenly, the drone lost signal. The screen flickered to black. The blades whined and fell silent. A gust of wind swept by. I shivered. Maybe just a glitch, but the air felt heavy. A faint scent of burning wood lingered. The drone probably crashed near the lake, Dung muttered. Gotta get it. It's expensive. They followed the red-tiled path. The weeds thinned. The ground grew bare, as if recently scorched again. At the lake's edge, the concrete swan statues had broken beaks, some twisted backwards like broken necks. The lake itself was just black, muddy sludge under the moonlight. A white wooden bench sat oddly pristine beside it. On the bench was a violin. This the spot where the concert happened? Dung whispered. They said the soloist burned alive during the fire, I replied, but the violin survived. Before anyone could move, one string twanged, low and trembling. No one touched it. Lum turned the camera on. The strings began to vibrate, as if played by invisible fingers. The note grew louder, shrill, echoing across the silent park. Bubbles formed in the muddy water. Then a hand surfaced. Ash gray, fingers twitching, clutching the edge. I screamed. Another hand emerged. Fingers burnt, one ringed with a scorched silver band. A skinless figure pulled itself out of the lake, bones cracking audibly. Its hollow eyes flickered with faint orange embers. It grabbed the violin, placed it on its bony shoulder, and began to play. The music shrieked like nails dragged across glass. It made their skulls rattle. They tried to run, but their limbs refused to move, paralyzed by some unseen force. The melody twisted into a funeral dirge, layered with the sounds of flickering fire. Lum yanked himself free, dragging Mai. Koi and Dung stumbled after. They fled blindly, lights swinging wildly. The violin's music followed, each step intensifying its fury, its notes vibrating in their lungs. They reached the Hall of Mirrors, once a glittering funhouse. Now, shattered glass littered the floor. Dung stepped on a shard and fell, his heel impaled. Mai looked into a cracked mirror and saw not herself, but a woman in a half-burned ball gown, hair singed, face cracked like scorched clay. The woman smiled, a crooked, ash-filled grin reaching toward her. Mai backed into another mirror. More shards crashed down. Each fragment reflected the woman's face, watching her from all angles. Koi shouted, "Forget the mirrors! Run!" They carried Dung through the ruined archway to the children's playground. Deflated plush toys hung like corpses. From a rusted speaker, a lullaby began playing, the park's grand opening song from 30 years ago. Lum froze. He remembered watching fireworks here with his father. His father had died in the fire. Through the smoke, he saw a man in a white shirt, his father, standing by the merry-go-round, waving. "Come on, son, let's go home." I grabbed Lum. "That's not your dad. Move." But Lum stepped forward. The carousel creaked to life. Children's laughter echoed. The violin became a gleeful waltz. Then, silence. Lum was gone. Only the first horse remained, rusted and peeling, with Lum's burned camera hanging from its neck. "We're being offered up?" Dung gasped. "We're next." The path lights flicked on one by one, casting red and blue glows. They led back to the stage. In the center, blue fire erupted. Around it, the shattered audience seats were full again, with burned spectators, skin charred, eyes glowing like embers. In the center flame stood the violinist, head bowed. Next to him knelt Lum, tied with glowing fire ribbons. His mouth was open, but silent. His eye sockets bled. I screamed. Koi pulled a small fire extinguisher from his bag. He sprinted onto the stage and sprayed foam at the violinist and fire. Smoke curled upward, but the flames turned purple, writhing violently. The music swelled. The ribbons ignited, wrapping around Koi, swallowing him whole. Dung staggered. His wound oozed thick, black blood. He whispered, "He wants me, to be the new strings." The blood trickled down the stage, feeding the flame. Dung's body convulsed, bones cracking, skin blistering. He crawled forward, now on all fours, into the firelight. I backed away, sobbing. She ran. Through the collapsed seats, through the darkened park. Only the crescent moon, now tinged red, lit her way. She stumbled into an old service tunnel under the stands. Moldy, damp brick walls closed in. The music echoed, now like metal scraping her skull. She felt her hand land in something warm and soft, a red-hot iron mask, grinning wide. Dozens of similar masks hung on the tunnel walls, falling like wind chimes. At the end was a warped steel door. Outside, the city skyline, the murky canal. She pushed through. Night wind hit her like ice. She scrambled over debris, slashing her hands. Just as she crossed the threshold, the music stopped. Silence. She collapsed in the grass. Far behind her, the tunnel door creaked shut. Later, police and rescue teams found no trace of Lum, Koi, or Dung. CCTV only showed my escaping, covered in ash, muttering, "Violin, violin." In her bag was a single item that hadn't burned, a scorched violin, strung with brand new red strings, slick with blood. The evidence was locked in an evidence vault. That night, the guards heard music from the sealed room. When they opened it, the violin was gone. Scorched on the wall were the words, "The next performance begins under the full moon." Since then, whenever the moon turns red, people near Moonshadow Park whisper about violins in the night, and someone always disappears. The 13th Park. That park doesn't appear on any map. Although the residents of Kamha City often whispered stories about an old place once called the 13th Park, no one could remember exactly where it was. Children said if you looked into a mirror at exactly 1:13 a.m., you'd see the iron gate with the park's name behind you. Adults scoffed, saying it was urban legend. There were only 12 official parks listed in the city records. And then, Han's group found it. They were 4 architecture students working on a thesis about forgotten public spaces. While digging through old documents, Han uncovered a 1967 city planning file. It marked Park number 13, half completed and later scratched out in red ink. Probably canceled after some construction accident, Dewey, Han's classmate, guessed. "Let's try finding it." Mai suggested, "Maybe there's something left. It'll make our project stand out." "But it's not on Google Maps," Lum muttered, "which makes it even better." They triangulated its approximate location from the vintage map, rented motorbikes, and rode 2 hours to a dense patch of forest west of the city. Hidden in overgrowth stood an old concrete wall covered in moss. On a rusted iron gate dangled a twisted metal sign. 13th Park, no trespassing. Doi laughed. "What is this, an abandoned military base? Or a failed theme park?" They pushed through the loosened gate. Inside was a space seemingly frozen in time. Tall grass choked the walkways, cracked benches, eroded statues of children on slides, a pond black and still like a dead mirror. But the strangest thing? There was no dust. "It's like someone's been cleaning this place," Mai murmured. "Or someone still lives here," Han half-joked, staring at the lone, rocking horse swaying gently, though there was no wind. They decided to film the whole area for documentation and safety. The footage showed eerie, shadowed landscapes, no sound but their own steps and breathing. At the old park management office, a crumbling shack, they found the door unlocked. Inside, moldy walls, overturned furniture, and on one wall hung an old black and white photo, 4 children standing before the park gate, smiling. But every child's eyes had been scratched out. Lam stepped closer. The photo had no dust. It looked newly placed. 1:13 p.m. Hun's phone alarm went off, exactly the time she'd set. At that moment, they all heard it. A crackling speaker from somewhere in the park, playing a vintage children's song, faint and warped. Dewey chuckled nervously. "Someone's messing with us." No one responded. Mai's face had gone pale. She pointed toward the pond. There, a little girl in a white dress stood on the water, feet hovering above the surface, head bowed, hair covering her face. Lam stumbled back. Hun raised the camera, but the screen showed something else. The girl was staring straight at the lens, her eyes glowing white, mouth slashed to the cheeks, smiling. They ran from the office, taking a different path through the park. But the landscape had changed. The rocking horse had become a massive carousel, spinning silently. Benches had moved. The pond had vanished, replaced by a concrete ring streaked with drag marks like something had been pulled across it. "This isn't right," Lam screamed. "That pond was just here." Han turned around, but Mai was gone. She had just been right behind them. Dewey shouted her name. Only silence answered, and the distant jingle of an ice cream cart, rusty and unmanned, slowly rolling across the grass. By dusk, they had searched for hours with no trace of Mai. Light rain began to fall, but made no sound, no birds, no frogs, no wind, just silent rain. Lam started muttering, "It's not rain, it's ash. Can't you hear it?" Dewey slapped him. "Snap out of it." But when they looked into Lam's eyes, his pupils had turned cloudy gray, like burned paper. He smiled like a child handed a sweet. "Mother says tomorrow is my birthday." Then he turned and walked into the bushes. They couldn't stop him. Now only Dewey and Han remained. They returned to the gate, but the gate was gone. In its place stood a brick wall, freshly built, with a message written in red. "The game begins when 4 are present." Dewey punched the wall. "It's toying with us." Han collapsed in tears. Then the entire park lit up. Street lamps flickered to life. The speakers played a birthday song. Children's laughter echoed. Clapping, singing, candle blowing. But no one was really there, only shadows. Night fell. Dewey and Han hid under a shelter, too afraid to sleep. Around midnight, soft footsteps rustled the wet grass. Han held her breath. Through a gap, she saw Mai standing 30 feet away. No, it wasn't Mai. She wore the same dress, but her eyes were hollow. In her hand floated a balloon that read, "Happy birthday!" Dewey moved to run to her, but Han pulled him back. That's not her. Too late. The shadows yanked Dewey into the darkness. Only Han remained. The next morning, Han awoke on a normal-looking park bench, in a public park full of people. Children played, dogs barked, news echoed from a loudspeaker. She blinked, disoriented. Everything was clean, as if nothing had happened. When she asked about Park 13, no one had heard of it. Police scoured the western forest. No wall, no gate, no sign. No trace of Dewey, Lam, or Mai. Han spent 3 months in a psychiatric hospital. Her records read, delusional trauma. Mentions a birthday party of a faceless girl. Obsession with Park 13. A year later, on the anniversary of the disappearance, a lone stone bench appeared in a random park in Kamha, etched onto the backrest. 13, next round, 4 players. 4 high schoolers sat on it that afternoon, posing for a yearbook photo. They were never seen again. The last slide at AQUA Mirage. Urban legends say AQUA Mirage, once the largest water park on the Thin Nam coast, was hastily shut down after a mass incident 12 years ago. The news reported it vaguely. Pipeline malfunction, multiple guests traumatized, 1 child missing. The child's name was never released, and all related records mysteriously vanished. Since then, the 40-hectare lot has remained silent by the shore, its steel gates triple locked and warning signs strung up like barbed wire. But tonight, 7 members of the YouTube channel Ghost Splash broke in to film their biggest summer exploration. They were Tuan, the main host, thrill seeker; An, cameraman, flycam expert; V, scriptwriter, horror story hoarder; Quoc, audio tech, annoying joker; Phung, food blogger and reaction queen; Tin, medical student, brought the first aid kit; Thao, designer, always wears black sunglasses, even at night. Style, she says. They met at 10 p.m. under a full moon as the tide rose. The sea hissed behind them as they pried open the side gate with a crowbar. Once inside, everyone froze. The water was running. Slides glittered wet, dim neon lights flickered across the complex, casting a sickly green glow. But there was no power source. The main grid was clearly off. Like the park turned itself on for guests, Vi muttered, clutching her notebook. They followed the stone path toward the tsunami pool, a wave pool the size of a soccer field. Its surface was unnaturally still, reflecting the full moon. At 10:13 p.m., a crackling speaker sputtered, "Welcome to AQUA Mirage. High wave session begins now." The water erupted, rising in unnatural tides. No turbines, no engines, just a rolling current, summoned from nowhere, and went live with the camera. Thousands of viewers flooded the stream. Quoc shouted, "Who's swimming first?" Phung laughed, "Sponsored by waterproof mascara?" But Tin frowned. "This isn't fresh water. It smells salty, metallic." He scooped some. It reeked of iron and decay. The waves stopped suddenly. Floating at the center was a red life ring, gently bobbing. On its surface were childlike scrawlings. "Help me." Then another speaker blared. "Cyclone slide is now open." They turned toward the massive spiral slide, 7 loops over 25 meters tall. Water gushed down its luminous tunnel. A sign above the entrance read, "Only one at a time." Tuan grinned. "Who's first?" Quoc raised his hand. "My GoPro can handle 100 meters underwater." He strapped it on, stepped into the slide, and vanished. A minute passed, then 2. No one came out, and sent the flycam up the slide. The footage showed only misty darkness, and at the 3rd loop, a long red smear clinging to the wall. The chat blew up. "Fake blood! CGI! So real it's scary!" Vi screamed, "Turn off the stream. Call him." They ran up the spiral stairs. At the 5th bend, a maintenance hatch was ajar. Inside, the tunnel was dry. No water, just a sticky brown-red trail. A bloody handprint marked the wall, next to 4 words clawed into the plastic. "Turn back now." Tin whispered, "Where is he?" The speakers answered, "Player 2, report to the death slide." Thao took off her shades. Her face was pale. "It's counting us?" 1, the lazy river trap, panicked. They ran for the side gate, but the path they'd broken in through was gone, replaced by a metal wall. On it, they saw a warped reflection. Quoc, soaked, standing behind them, eyes clouded, neck twisted. They spun around. No one. Vi sobbed. Tuan led the group to the lazy river. The water drifted lazily through the canal. 10 yellow floaties bobbed at the dock. An LED sign blinked, water temp 13 degrees Celsius. Tuan suggested they follow the river's edge to the main exit, but after 15 minutes of walking, they arrived back where they started. On the riverbank lay torn admission tickets dated August 13th, 2010, the night of the unexplained incident. On the back, a smiling child, and the caption, "Happy 7th birthday, Min Kwon." Tin paled. "I read about a missing boy named Min Kwon. He disappeared at AQUA Mirage that night." Vi stammered. 7 members, 7 slide loops, 13 keeps repeating. Suddenly, the water roiled. A yellow float shot toward them. A gray child's hand reached from it, snatched Thao by the throat, and yanked her under. Tin jumped after her, but the thick current swallowed them both. Only her cracked sunglasses floated back. The speakers sang. Player 3 has joined. 2. Tunnel of Death. 4 remained. Tuan, An, V, Phung. Trembling, they ducked into the undersea tunnel, a glass corridor once surrounded by aquarium tanks. Now the tanks were murky, filled with mold and rot. Their lights flickered. Inside one tank, they saw Quoc's body, wedged between plastic coral, eyes wide, GoPro still recording. The footage showed him spinning down the slide, landing in a dry shaft, then crawling through pipes. A wet boy crawled toward him, grinning, with shark-like teeth. Then static. Phung retched. The speaker chimed, "Player 4, your turn." A steel door shut behind them, locked at exactly 13. On the wall, a bloody graffiti read, "Mommy, I made friends now." 3. The pump room. They broke into the old utility block. Giant water pumps roared, though no power flowed. The floor was soaked in chlorine and something fouler. Tuan carried a crowbar, directing them. V got separated. Through a puddle, she saw a reflection, a boy in a floaty with the number 07 pointing toward booster pump 4. "Play with me?" he whispered. She backed away. The floor beneath her opened. Vi dropped into a grimy shaft, the water swirling. Ann's camera caught her body spinning helplessly before smashing into an open intake fan. Blood gushed through the filter. The speaker chimed again. "Player 4 has joined the team." 4, the bloody show. Only Tun, Ain, and Fung remained. At the central plaza, the swordfish fountain spewed red water under crimson lights. On the big screen above the wave pool, an old birthday video played. Children laughed. Paper confetti flew. Min Kwan stood at the cake. But the fireworks misfired. The stage curtain caught fire. No water came. Smoke smothered the lens. Then, a replay of Kwan getting pulled into the pool drain, tiny hands clawing, no lifeguard in sight. Now, in the present, the fountain bled. The pool drain opened, a deep, dark maw. A child's voice sang, "Come play, we need all 7 down below." Fung cried, "Take me, let me go instead." She dove into the drain. Tin tried to grab her, but slipped. Both were swallowed by the whirlpool. Players 5 and 6 have joined. 5. The final ride. Only Tuan remained. The park went dark, except for the cyclone slide. The LED sign read, "Last Ride." Tuan gripped the crowbar, climbed the tower. At the top, the tunnel gaped. A boy stood beside it, holding the red life ring. Same face as the video, same blank eyes, same shark smile. Tuan asked, "You want me to take your place?" The boy shook his head. He pointed to Tuan's head-mounted camera, still live. The chat scrolled wildly. "Go! Save him!" Tuan realized the viewers were part of the ritual. The more people watched, the harder it was to escape. He ripped the transmitter off, smashed it. Signal dead. A red error flashed. The slide screeched. Water receded. The boy lunged, but moonlight poured through a cracked plastic dome, making his body flicker. Tuan swung the crowbar, broke a panel, and leapt, through the gap, out into open air. He splashed into the sea behind the park. The waves stung his face. He coughed, clawed to shore, gripping the red ring, now clean, bearing faded letters. AQUA MIRAGE, safety first. From the shore, police and searchlights approached, alerted by thousands who had seen the stream. But all footage past 2213 was static. Tuan collapsed. Aftermath. 3 months later, AQUA MIRAGE was sealed again. No bodies found, no power source, no running water. They did find 7 red life rings, neatly arranged beside the cyclone slide. Dry. Tuan was committed to a psychiatric ward. He repeated, 13 degrees, salt water, help me. Among his belongings, police recovered a burnt GoPro tape. The audio captured water and a child's lullaby. Waves go up, waves go down, will you come and play around? We are 7, deep we stay. Beneath the tide, we'll never fray. Anyone who listened to the tape's final verse reported ringing ears and the faint sound of water spiraling. The mayor ordered the park paved over with concrete. Still, coastal fishermen swear that on full moon nights, they see 7 red life rings bobbing just offshore, spinning slowly in a circle, and any child curious enough to reach one never returns.